Hi, today we are going to learn about how to set up a free VPS for web application. So let's start. But before that, let's talk about what a VPS really is. VPS stands for Virtual Private Server. It is not a physical server. Rather, it is a server that is running in a main physical server, which hosts many virtual servers like this, and they're quite isolated from each other. So if something happens in one of these virtual servers, it doesn't affect other virtual servers. So that server is dedicated server. So you can host a web application into that on, or you can host many web application into one server. It depends upon how you really do it. If you have used Oracle VirtualBox or VMware, and you have installed Linux or Windows operating system, and you have played with the server in those virtual machines, then you might probably understand how it works, or it might be easy for you. But if not, it's not even then it's not that hard to learn it. So VPSs are expensive than shared hosting. So shared hosting is like where people normally, or businesses or individuals, they host their website, they are provided by the hosting companies. And why do people use VPS if they can have this shared hosting, which is much more cheaper than VPS? Because VPS is more faster and dedicated than shared hosting. As the name says, shared hosting is shared by many companies or many companies or individuals. So VPS instance can be started with minimum configuration, let's say 1 GB of RAM and 1 CPU core, 10 GB hard disk drive, and when the business needs it, then all the other resources can be added later on. Okay, so what is the difference between a shared hosting and a VPS? As the name suggests, shared hosting is shared by many companies or individuals in the same server to make it more affordable by the hosting providers. Whereas VPS, you have your own server, at least the virtual server, which is much more dedicated. So that means shared hosting is more affordable option, and in VPS it's more expensive. But you can customize your own VPS in the way you like. You can choose your operating system, you can choose whatever web services stack you want, like LAMP or Python or whatever. Then you can choose the hardware configuration, like how much memory you need, how many CPU cores you need, how much disk space you need, things like that. And you can upscale later on. But in shared hosting, most of the tough technical tasks like managing the server is done by the hosting provider themselves. But in case of VPS, it's not like that. In most cases you have to manage your own server. So in shared hosting, it is mostly suitable for website. So whether it is an individual website or a company website, it is suitable for them. So most of the, as I told earlier, like most of the websites are hosted on the same server by the hosting providers. So that is why there's a slow performance. But even though it is suitable for websites, it is not suitable for a web application. Like if you want to execute or run a CRM software or any other kind of software or real estate software, something like that. So shared hosting is not good enough for that purpose. So let's go again to the VPS. It is, as I've told you earlier, we can customize the server, and it is very fast and suitable for a web application. Lower budget can give you VPS as well. Like let's say a shared hosting, you can get a shared hosting for like $2 to $3 per month, whereas you have to pay at least $5 for VPS. But in lower budget, what happens is like you have to manage the server by yourself entirely. So you have to take care of how to install each and every component and software part or stack, let's say Linux, Apache, PHP, MySQL, Laravel if you are developing a Laravel website or application. And then you have to take care of the backup, security, upgrades, like future upgrades of the softwares. So it is more technically challenging, especially for programmers. Or if you are an entrepreneur or a startup, then and you have a less budget, then it might be challenging for you. But if you are somebody who really knows how to handle a server, especially who are like system administration, who are from system administration background, they can easily manage these VPSs. So these are, as I've told earlier, like this one is more expensive option, but it is a dedicated one and it is more reliable for web applications. Okay, let's talk about managed and unmanaged VPSs. You can see this unmanaged and managed clearly explains that one is managed and one is unmanaged. It doesn't mean that you cannot manage an unmanaged VPS, but whatever you have to do it by yourself. You have to manage the server by yourself. You have to upgrade the services and softwares within that server or the operating system itself. You have to take care of the security. You have to take care of how to optimize the server and everything. Whereas in managed VPS, you just have to worry about the source code and and the rest of the business operational side of your businesses. So because managed VPS are more expensive, people may prefer to go into unmanaged VPSs. So as I've said earlier, unmanaged is more affordable than managed services. Managed VPS are more expensive than unmanaged VPS. So hosting provider only takes care of the physical server and guarantees its uptime, whereas in managed server, hosting provider takes care of the physical server and your virtual server. In unmanaged VPS, you are responsible for everything else like installation, maintenance, upgrading, and security, whereas in managed servers, hosting providers take care of the security and feature upgrades. If you are new to VPS and server things, and if you want to learn and you're very curious, and if you can buy a very simple VPS, then unmanaged VPS is your best option. And in managed VPS, if you have budget, good, and if you can afford a managed VPS, you should go for this one later on, as you don't have to worry about other technical stuff around the VPS. Okay, so another one. Some of the popular VPS providers, if you don't know about this, some of the providers are DigitalOcean, Volta, A2 Hosting, Amazon's AWS, and Google's GCP. So what are the differences between these two? Well, AWS and GCP are provided by very big companies, as you know it, like Amazon and Google are very big companies and mega giants. So they provide really powerful servers and they provide a lot of options for businesses. But their console is very complicated and a lot of options, so it might overwhelm a lot of you. But if you want to go into the simple console option, so some of the options that you might get is DigitalOcean, Volta, and A2 Hosting. DigitalOcean, these three have very simple consoles and only simple. You won't feel like this. It's really hard to understand or to learn. So you'll feel that this console is very easy to operate. So after this, we can go and have a look on how to create a virtual private server. So I'm using Google's cloud server, or Google Cloud Platform for that matter. Well, it's not exactly free of cost, but it will give you some time to practice or to learn about the platform. So you need to have a Google account for this. Okay, now let's start with Google Cloud Platform. First, we have to go to console.cloud.google.com and press enter. You need to have your own Google account for this, which you might have already. So let's go to the menu and choose compute engine and then VM instances. So Google console will give you this. So we can click on create button, and here you have to give the name of the instance. Let's say Envision CRM. I'll give it this one. Okay, this is the region where the server will be, and this is the zone within that region. So you don't have to do anything about this one, just to try the server. So here you can choose the resources. How much do you want? You don't need too much of the resources. You can choose the default or go to 1 GB, whatever you want. So at this here, you need to choose the operating system. For this, I'll choose Ubuntu because Ubuntu is one of the most popular operating systems, and I'll choose the version, which is 18 LTS. Here you can choose how many GB you want for the hard disk, 10, 20, 25, whatever. You can choose that, and just stick with the default and just select. You don't have to configure a firewall at this stage, so you can go with the default options. So click on create. It will take a while, just be patient, and by then I'll tell you something about these ones. Here you can choose your billing report. For now, because you are trying and giving a trial for this, so you don't have to pay anything for now. For at least 3 months you don't have to pay for those. And then this one is if you want to check the traffic, monitor your VM engine. So this option is for that, and this is for to set up the firewall roles. If you want to protect your virtual machine, then this option is for you. So here it is already prepared now. This is the external IP. If you host a web application here in this VPS, then this is the IP address you need to remember, or you have to use. So if we want to go to the console or the operating system, then we can click on SSH. By then it may take some time. Okay, by the time I'll show something. Here you can stop or start if you want to stop the virtual machine. Normally we don't do that, but still if you need to do it, you can do it here, and you can resume the server here. And if you need to delete the instance, delete it from here, because you don't want to be charged not for just for like using it for trial, right? So later on when you finish practicing the VPS and your web application, hosting your web application or whatever, then you should delete the instance so that Google doesn't charge you. But it's still like there are 3 months time within which you can practice, and Google doesn't charge you for that time being. So as you can see, it is now connecting. Sometimes it may give problem because in GCP it is like that. Because if that happens, then what you should do is like you should stop the instance first and then restart the instance using the start button. Sometimes you have to do it a couple of times in order to be able to log into the console. So here it goes. Console is here. You can check and enter the commands. So here it is now, the console. You can check the resources, see it has got 4 GB RAM. You can create your own swap memory for additional RAM, additional memory, and now server is yours. Okay, so you can use the server in the way you like. Maybe you can host it for web application, and you can redirect your domain to this IP address, or you can use the server just to about learn the system administration or about the server as a whole. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. So stay tuned. Thank you so much.